Thank you. Welcome. Now, this is the last session before lunch, the last official session, I think, of the conference before we get into the new ticketed, separately ticketed branded residence piece. Come on up, Team Branded Residents. Come on up. We'll introduce them in a moment. Now, just for my curiosity, I'd like to know, now, we're not going to throw you out if you're not ticketed for the branded residences thing this afternoon, but just out of curiosity, who in this room is not ticketed for the branded residence? Okay, so we've got some people to work on in terms of conversion and try and get you to buy a last-minute ticket then. Okay, although I think it might be sold out, so you might be out of luck, have to get in early for the next year. So what are we trying to answer in this session? Well, I think the question is, what are branded residences? Are they the perfect blend between residential real estate investment and hospitality real estate investment? Or is the reality they're a bit of a Frankenstein's monster? Now, I've got a great panel in front of us, in front of you today to talk about this, explore this issue, but I'm going to need some assistance from you. I'm going to come out and ask you if there's any questions. Please be thinking about that. We've got a roving mic. Put your hand up. Let's get engagement. Let's get these questions. You know, I've got some questions from that presentation I've just seen on branded residences. I'm going to ask some of my panel if they can help me understand that. But one thing we had during our meeting a couple of days ago when we were discussing this session was, can we be sort of very brief in terms of the company, you know, patter and the intros? And everybody shook hands and said, we're going to keep it brief. We agreed on that, right? We're going to keep that bit. Whoa, yeah. we might need to challenge them on that. But I'm going to kick off, just tell you a little bit about what I do at Hotel Analyst. So I'm a journalist, you just heard that, went through the ranks, did a bit on the BBC, was a Sunday newspaper correspondent, all that stuff. Been running my business for the last 21 years. The angle I take is I look at the world as seen from London. I explore what's going on in hospitality investment. We look at the trends. We look at the strategies. You know, what's the situation with the debt environment? What's the situation with the equity environment? We discuss the rise of the online travel agents. Is the tour operator business model kaput? And indeed, we've looked at branded residences. You can see our stuff. We do a podcast. Hotel Analyst, put that in your podcast provider. We also do a couple of events, Operational Real Estate Festival in London in June, which explores this whole blending of asset classes, and we're just launching a new one in February called the Hotel Industry Development Event. So that's my pitch. I'm going to now come to my panel. They're going to keep their pitches as brief. I'm going to start here in Dubai with you, Paul, please.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Bridger from Rove Hotels. Hopefully you've heard of Rove. We're relatively new to the branded residences scene. We've probably in the last 12 months launched about 2,000 units with lots of success and interest. We're a little bit different in that we're not in the luxury or ultra luxury segment, and I look forward to the panel. Thank you.
Oh, great, that's terrific. Just tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with this approach. So you're backed by Dubai Holding and MR in terms of, you know, big real estate developers. They've already done lots of residential development. What's different about what you're trying with this branded piece?
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is bring branded residences to really central locations with the trust that you have with a brand, but an accessible price point, which is, I think, similar to what we do in our hotels. You know, we've got great quality hotels, central locations, great service.
So the gap in the market you're perceiving is we've got this luxury stuff. You're coming in at, I think we had a discussion, is it mid-scale, sort of upper mid-scale?
Upper mid-scale, lifestyle.
Somewhere around there kind of thing. So all that stuff we saw about brand premium. So I'm always questioning, what do we mean by brand premium? So what I mean by brand premium, you've got an apartment which is unbranded, you've got an apartment which is branded. What's the premium on that real estate? What are you planning on getting in terms of a premium?
Good question. I think we're definitely looking at double-digit premiums. We've literally launched our latest project yesterday in Dubai. So Rove Home Dubai Marina launched yesterday, 650 units, directly adjacent to the Dubai Marina Mall. super location, probably the last plot in the marina that's not developed. Our other projects are in downtown Dubai, Marassi Drive in Business Bay, and we've got a great project with Arada in Sharjah.
Okay, great. Double-digit premium. Great, interesting. Let's go off to the Maldives. Eezan, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. I'm from the Maldives Fund Management Corporation. We're a state-led organization, pretty much focused on investment and fund management at the same time, state strategic asset manager, highly specialized in hospitality. And today it's pretty much us announcing and giving a message to the entire hospitality industry. The president of Maldives 3 weeks ago announced that the Maldives will be officially opening up to residency by investment in real estate. And we are the state-led company that's going to start these projects, and then we'll see where it goes.
So you've got to plan 14 islands, which are going to be high-end real estate, just the branded residents on those 14 islands. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So we've got a project north of Male, the capital city. It's a 16-island development targeted to the ultra high net worths. It's 2 ultra luxury resorts and 14 private islands categorized and sold under the residency by investment scheme.
Right. And in terms of brand premium, are you building something like that into your business plan? Is there existing, well, this is a new thing, right, for the Maldives in terms of selling
Correct,
the real estate. Yeah. So I guess it's a bit of a tricky question for you to answer, but you've got kind of, you're obviously looking for that branding piece to add a premium, and presumably it's a double digit.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty much all the brands here at FHS are already in the Maldives. I think everyone's going to be excited to talk to us, and we're definitely open to talk to the brands. And branded resi connected to be a branded private island resi would make so much sense.
Right. And I'm just going to go with this ultra net worth definition here, because I think one of the things is we throw out all these percentages and numbers, and it's a bit sort of 8 out of cats do such and such, and until you pin it down, you need to understand it. So the Knight Frank definition of ultra net worth is $30 million worth of investable assets. I looked at my bank account this morning. I was a bit shy of that, sadly, but
same here.
That is a group that's growing quite rapidly. So again, Knight Frank, between 2022 to 2027, the forecast is that's growing at 28.5% over that. So this is clearly a growth segment. That's where you're going to be selling your properties, who you're going to be selling your properties to in the Maldives.
Exactly correct. I mean, over the last 10 years, I think there's been quite a bit of interest from the people that visit the Maldives, ultra high net worths, that was there opportunity for them to invest in a real estate, in a resort, or whether there's going to be a development coming which is integrated into the communities. I think we bridged that gap, providing that by announcing this today. I think we're going to bridge that gap.
Okay, great. Stephen, you're next up. Please introduce yourself and what you're up to.
Thanks very much. Pleasure to be here. Hi, everybody. My name's Steve Rossouw. I'm from the New Murabba project in Riyadh. For those who don't know, New Murabba is one of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 developments. And New Murabba is setting out to deliver the new downtown of Riyadh. The area that we're developing on incorporates 19 square kilometres. Over the next 15 years, we plan to deliver some 27 million square metres of GFA. And from a branded residence perspective and residential perspective, we're looking to deliver about 100,000 units over that time. From a branded perspective, about 5% of that will be branded, of the overall 100%. And the first units of those to be delivered will be in the Murabba building itself, in the iconic central Murabba. If everybody,
that's the cube, right?
That's the cube. If anyone isn't aware of that, there's a little logo on your lanyard you can look at. And within the Murabba, we have about 4,500 residential units in total, and of that proportion, 950 will be branded across lifestyle branded and hotel branded categories.
And how many hotels have you got in that cube?
We've got seven hospitality assets within the cube.
And they're servicing the branded residences.
And they'll be servicing the hotel branded residences, and then the lifestyle branded residences will be standalone.
Right. And who's servicing them?
They'll be run by themselves. They'll be run by their own estate with their own concierge and operations.
Right.
Yeah. Because they won't have the same servicing provision that the hotel branded residences will. I think we'll get into the difference on those maybe.
Yeah. So Karl Lagerfeld could come for those?
Absolutely. We may be having conversations with Karl Lagerfeld at this event.
Okay, great. Ali, please
I'm
introduce
Mali
yourself.
Jabbar, GJ Property Investments. We're based out of the north in Ajman. First development here in Dubai is happening soon. We're actually in the midst of developing it. It's the Biltmore Residences. We are just venturing into our first branded residences. We're used to selling non-branded residences for the past 22 years. Branded residences is on the rise. This is something that is now profound of for a little more premium, but you get the more of a hospitality type of services, and it's on the rise.
Right. So sorry, the mic cut out a bit there. Do you find, don't worry, I think they've just worked out where the switch was. So can I just ask you to repeat in terms of the branded and the unbranded piece in terms of that?
Branded residences is a mix of owning real estate with top-tier hospitality services. What we offer at the Biltmore Residence here on Sheikh Zayed Road is the same exact concept. You get to own a hotel apartment, but you get to have the same services of hospitality services. Your concierge, your in-room dining, your daily housekeeping. That's pretty much what we're doing.
Thank you. So let's explore this difference between the hotel brand piece and the product brand piece. I think we saw in that presentation the differences in terms of, I think the ratio there was about 3-to-1 in terms of hospitality. The numbers I've seen, Savills report, for example, they suggest it's more like 6-to-1 globally. So it's interesting that Dubai is a bit more product brand orientated. Come to you, Paul. How do you see the difference between a hospitality brand and Karl Lagerfeld?
Well, I think, hoteliers are used to taking care of guests day in, day out. I think there was a very good point about longevity. I personally wouldn't trust Rove to build a car brand. I think hoteliers add a lot of value to the branded residences. And I think from a guest perspective, if you've experienced the hotel brand, why not want to live there? You can have hotel living. But of course, if you're attached to a car brand, then maybe there's value that personally for yourself as well.
Right. And in your case, the hotels are next to your branded residences? How are you doing the servicing?
So we've done both. We're lucky that we've got a lot of hotels in Dubai already. So we've got standalone and mixed-use projects. The standalone projects will have hotel-style services. They'll have a Rove team. So it will be equivalent of living in a hotel. And one of the reasons why we kind of got into this space is we had so many people that were staying in our hotels for long periods of time that we thought, why not? And why leave it to the ultra high net worth individuals? And why can't you buy a Rove home?
You're expanding the market
residences?
effectively.
And when we saw, we've seen a lot of demand. Our first project sold out in 5 days. And because we're developing smaller units, a bit like our hotels, right? The focus is all on the public spaces, smaller living spaces. Actually, from a developer's perspective, you're getting the same return as you're getting from a luxury project. In fact, on a couple of occasions, higher than very well-known luxury brands.
Right. And just in terms of how it works, you're selling the units to buyers in terms of the properties, so you're getting that upfront cash flow, which is very welcome, I'm sure. And then there's a long-term contract, management contract in terms of servicing those residents, and that's done. Is there a sort of homeowners association that looks after the interests of all the individual unit owners?
Correct, yeah. So essentially that's the model. Typically, in our case, a lot of them have been individual developers that we're working with, so they get the money up front. We take a branding fee, and then we take a management fee over the long term.
Right. Stephen, coming to you, one of the challenges I think with this product versus hospitality piece is how do the non-hotel people actually service the units? Well, how do you see that? And there is a risk there, isn't there? A reputational risk if it falls over, if Porsche, whoever you sign up to your branded residences don't deliver on that. How do you manage that process?
Absolutely. As Paul was saying, the hotel branded residences come with such a strong reputation for managing buildings, managing people's holidays, and now managing people's houses very well. And so you're right, in the branded section that isn't hotel branded, but lifestyle branded or vanity branded, it's much more like a typical residential building. So just say, one of the blocks in Dubai that aren't branded, that you buy an apartment in, there's an estate manager that runs that entire estate, that organises your FM, your lifts, your payments, your subcontractors, cleans the building and does everything behind the scenes for you. And so in the lifestyle branded residential, it operates in exactly the same way as a normal building. I mean, in effect, it is really just a typical residential building, but it's got a different name on the entrance as you walk in.
Right.
And there might be some additional inputs into the building, the furniture design, interior design, potentially how it's operated or how the interiors or lobbies are laid out, pools, things like that. It's a collaboration. But after that point, you don't really see much more from the brand relating to operation or anything like that as you would in a hotel branded residence.
Okay. Eezan, in terms of this product branding versus the sort of hospitality branding piece, I'm interested in your thoughts of how you see that as you're looking at your 14 islands and what you're going to have on each one. Are you going to have a Porsche island and an Aston Martin island, or how are you approaching it?
No, I think we've considered many different ideas. I mean, we've jumped across debating between should we just do a bespoke product where we give the buyer just the island and they can build whatever they want, they can call it, they can brand it, or do we develop it ourselves and then sell it by branding it with a Porsche or Lamborghini or Bentley or Fendi or Rosewood or whichever. But it's something that we're giving thought to. I think we have time. We have time to collaborate, partner with everyone, find the best way to do it. But at the same time, coming back to just high net worth, our Ghaleb high net worth private island project is still ongoing. We're still looking for investment and finance, but at the same time, we've just officially launched in the south of Maldives a 1,000-key integrated tourism zone. So this is a mix of hotels and resi. During FHS, we just signed some HMAs with hotel operators. So we have 89 resi at this development, and we've got a construction company on board, mobilized, fully started, and this to be finished in 2.5 years. So
and
this
you
is
signed
where.
up a brand,
So we signed
for that?
with brands for the hotels, some of the hotels.
Who's that?
We were at FHS. We signed with Time Hotels for a hotel. We also signed with the Hong Kong-based operator as well. We've been talking to a lot of people throughout the FHS. Branded resi is something we're very keen on exploring. I think the brands have driven Maldives, obviously, to become what it is now. I think it will continue to do that. And I think for us announcing we're doing a new thing, I think branded resi can be a really good option for us.
Right. And again, there is that reputational risk if it goes wrong. How are you making sure that these people who aren't established hospitality players necessarily are capable of delivering on that? What sort of due diligence are you doing on those?
In terms of brands?
Yeah.
I think the Maldives as a destination speaks for itself, right? I mean,
Oh, absolutely, that does.
And-
I'm just worried in terms of whoever you're bringing in to do the operations.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that they're going to do the job?
I think as government-led and the first company that's going to do it, I think it's great that we're able to curate and be mindful of how we do it. So I think we'll take our time, we'll talk to everyone, we'll get everyone on board, partner, collaborate, and make sure when we do it for the first time, we do it right. So we'll take our time. I think as a country, we've come a long way in 52 years of our tourism history. I think integrating branded resi, real estate, investment, resi, everything together, I think we'll do it right.
Okay, great, thank you. Ali, coming to you, in terms of your thoughts in terms of this product brand versus the hospitality brand, what's your favouring?
Product brands, if it's not a branded hotel or hospitality high-end brand, you have more flexibility. You get to change your furniture, for example, around. You get to pick your appliances. You get a lot more flexibility with non-branded residences. There's also that niche. But living with the hospitality brand, you pay more, but you get more as well. So you get your extra services, you get your concierge, you get your in-room dining, you get your extra heightened security. It's on the rise, and having branded residences doesn't have to be attached to an international name for it to be asking for more premium. There's a lot of exclusive, more boutique and niche brands that are out there today. We have the Pagani residences in Dubai, for example. They ask for a very high premium, but you get to live in a Pagani-made product and be able to enjoy that just for a little more premium.
Okay, so you're favouring the hospitality branded end of
I do favor hospitality brands, for sure. Due to more experience, more transparency, it offers more because of how much they have in terms of experience.
Okay, great. I'd like to explore now the consumer value proposition that's out there. Part of one of the things that branded residences are sold on is this, the potential investment return that you can, as a buyer of the unit. And one of the key drivers of that return is in terms of whether you're able to let it out or not. And with what you're planning over at Rove, are you having a rental pool for the homeowners?
We'll have the option of using Rove rental pool or select partners that people can partner with that will have to be pre-approved by us.
Right, so when you say partners, is that like Airbnb or something?
Potentially, but it would be a company that manages that on behalf of the owner.
Oh, I see. So you have a service provider in between Airbnb and it'll be
Yes.
listing on Airbnb, then you have a service provider coming in to manage that process. And that has to be authorised through you. But you're happy with that to go, and they could rent that out for 50 weeks of the year or something?
I mean, the target really is to have typical residential stays, and in Dubai it's annual contracts. That's the kind of target audience for us. And really, again, just to repeat that, we're providing something in a really central location. And there was a great panel earlier about luxury.
Right.
And, luxury is different to different people.
Yeah.
And for me, luxury is not having to drive an hour to get to work. So I think answering your original question, which is, we will allow that, but it will be pre-approved by Rove to protect the asset and the community.
Right, good. Okay, Stephen, coming to you in terms of this rental pool thing, what you're creating is a new community in this project. How do you think about the rental pool and the possibility that you're going to have quite a transient market for some of these branded residents potentially? How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one for us because at New Murabba, out of the 100,000 residential units that are going to be delivered, there's going to be a big mix of typologies within there. You've got your typical housing that's running through all your luxury categories from mid-end all the way up to luxury. You've then got potentially some BTR or some PRS in there. So you've got some rental properties that would likely be owned by some capital investment.
Can I just jump in the BTR, so build to rent, how is that distinct to branded residences?
BTR is a residential rental product that it's almost in the same pool because it will be managed by a branded entity, but that entity is more of a building management entity than it is a luxury brand or a hotel brand.
Right.
But the advantages of, if you look at your basic type of rental, you rent an apartment off a private landlord or for lease. When you move up to BTR, then it's an organised building, and you rent a room in that building, and the building's run by somebody. And then the next level up from that is your hotel branded residence, when you're then living in a hotel, and you've got all the services, room services, amenities, concierge, everything at your fingertips.
Right, great. I'm going to come over to Eezan now and talk about that consumer value proposition with what you're doing with your 14 islands. And how you're, in terms of those branded residences. Now, I would presume that people aren't staying there 52 weeks of the year, right? So they won't be staying there 52 weeks of the year. You're anticipating they'll be there for a few weeks of the year, and then are you going to be facilitating that to be rented out? Or?
Yeah, definitely. I think it comes down to the question of, can Maldives be a holiday home? Yes, why not? Can Maldives be a permanent home? Sure, eventually. Infrastructure, once everything's aligned, we'll get there. So we're definitely open. It has to be a rental pool when we do officially launch and announce and these investments can come in. Yeah, I think we're open for a rental pool, definitely.
And in terms of how you think about that community of branded residences, how does the impact, if people are only going to be there for like 1 or 2 weeks of the year, that must impact that community, your sense of community? It's much more like a kind of a hotel experience, isn't it?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, so when we did the master plan and we worked with Foster and Partners, what we did was we placed these private islands near an ultra-luxury resort so that there's the potential for branded private islands, so it becomes easy for the management. So we could possibly be putting 5 private islands along with 1 resort, and that could be classified as a branded resort and private islands. And so the investor or the buyer of that private island can easily put it back into the pool, which is already done in the Maldives. Cheval Blanc is doing it, Waldorf is doing it. Everyone's got these small islands which they classify as private islands. But for the first time now, the buyer investor can actually buy it.
Right, great. Ali, can I come to you on this consumer value proposition piece? Is it, how much of a key thing is it that it's an investment return piece, do you think, or is it more wealth preservation thing? What's the driver from the purchaser's perspective?
What's the driver to the premiums? Is that your question?
Yeah, from why would somebody go and buy a branded residence?
You make more on branded residences. Your ROI is higher, of course, because you're selling a property or holding a property that comes with much more than just living between 4 walls. You have services that come with this. You have retail space and commercial space that gives a lot more to the asset. You ask for more premium because you get more back. Higher returns obviously come from demand for such type of properties that come with good services, good practice. So premiums are based on more luxurious properties that give back.
Okay. Paul, just to sort of follow on from that, in terms of the reassurance that a buyer has that that's a good investment. I mean, because obviously it's a new project. The anticipation is that the resale value is going to be higher.
Yeah, I think if I could add, I mean, you can sum it up in one word: it's trust, right? What does a brand give? It's trust, it's a promise. And I think whether it's Rove or another brand, you have your confidence of that project being finished, being maintained to a certain level, and having a certain level of service increases in a branded residences, and being operated in a certain way. Right. Because there's another party that has an interest to make sure that you're looked after, right, and your product's looked after.
Right.
And it's a long-term investment, right? And often it's, a branded residence can be somebody's biggest investment in their life. We as a brand have a responsibility to make sure that we deliver on our promise as well, and we hold all the respective parties accountable.
Yeah. Stephen, with what you're doing, I mean, in terms of that trust element that's out there, that reputational piece for the overall developer, I mean, how focused are you on that in terms of the due diligence of who comes in as potential operators?
Well, as a new project, we typically, when you have a branded residence, you bring a developer's reputation and the brand reputation together. One of the big advantages that has is it gives you sort of double the marketing power, double the marketing pool. At New Murabba, we're in new development. We haven't actually built anything yet, other than a few piles that have gone in the ground already. So we need to build our own brand and reputation from a quality housing and from a trust perspective, which we're going to be doing along the way. But it's hard to do that until you've finished and handed something over. And so the parties that we bring in to partner with us on the branded residential, lifestyle residential, any of the other housing products, it's crucial that those names that are coming in give people that level of trust that we're not able to give them yet, albeit we are a PIF entity and there is trust that's built into the fact that it's sovereign wealth. Sure. And it's government backed.
Sure. But you're looking for a track record from whoever.
Absolutely, track record, strong brand name. Yeah, the kind of brand that people who might not necessarily be looking to buy in your development now would be, because that brand that they know and they affiliate with are there, and that level of trust is there. Just one interesting point about the buyers is that there's people buying for investment, which typically will be buying more at a pool scale, and there's people buying for status as well. And the properties at the top of them are that that are our most premium things are going to set the records in Riyadh, those buyers won't be putting the properties into the rental pool. They'll be owning those properties within, say it's a Ritz-Carlton or it's a Four Seasons, for example, to own that, and they're not looking for investment back on that. That's just a prize
and
ownership.
perhaps I'd suggest some of the product brands have that higher brand status, don't they? So perhaps they're going to be a winner in that sense
absolutely.
as well. Right. Eezan, you've been looking now, I expect, at all of the different potential brands out there. How do you think about it in terms of that? What are the key factors you're considering before you're shortlisting some of those to have a more in-depth chat with?
I think I agree with Stephen, because I mean, we're doing something new. Then as a project, it's a new development as well. I think brand trust is important. But the only good thing I see is that as a country, our brand is already out, pretty well known. So I think since all the major brands are already here, it'll be a smooth process for us to gauge who's who and who can perform. But brand trust is definitely important for us, and especially we're not doing a mass market product at the moment. We'll have to be quite careful in how we proceed with it. So it comes back to the point that we'll take our time, assess, and talk to everyone, and then take it from there. But it is important how we select our operator and the brand.
Great. Right, we've got just under 5 minutes left. Do we have any questions out there in the audience? Or there's a hand shot straight up. Can we get a microphone over there? Can you just tell us who you are, where you're from? I think it's Tia, isn't it? Right here. Go for it. So.
The mic is...
Yeah, you're good.
Thank you, Andrew. Tia Ross, Strategic Hotel Consulting. I have a question in specifics to the Dubai market and the deflaggings and reflaggings. We've seen quite a lot of those in recent years, and the branded residences market is very strong, but there's a lot of momentum on it. But how is the legal framework keeping up with this? So if you're buying one of those Raffles branded residencies with the 100% price premium, how sure can you be as an investor that it's going to remain a Raffles, even if, let's say, the hotel piece gets unbranded?
Great question. So it's that services agreement with the brand. Would anybody like to take that on? Well, I guess this is...
Rove should.
You're probably not going to abandon it, are
I
you?
knew that was coming my way.
Paul, yeah.
I mean, honestly, we're not by any means experts, and we're relatively new to the game. I think we have 20 to 30 year agreements in our projects, and they're pretty tight in terms of the level of service we need to provide. So I think I didn't quite hear the question. Apologies, but.
Yeah, well, it was about how you guarantee that if you're buying a Fairmont branded a residence, how do you know it's going to be a Fairmont in 20 years' time?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we work with the developer from day one. Our team are in every meeting, and we're very we're very upfront with our requirements and our standards. We have a short list of consultants that we expect the developer to use, and yeah, we try to be transparent throughout the process, but we're very actively involved, and I think that's the piece that probably gives you the trust. As I mentioned, we have a 20 or 30 year agreement, and yeah, I think
that's
should
what
give you.
you're looking for, the 20, 30 year agreements, is that?
We're not there yet.
You're exploring the options and so forth.
Yeah, but I mean, Paul is happy to come talk to me after this.
I don't think the buyer also always has the opportunity to sell that property as well, so they own it.
Yeah.
I would foresee that if a brand or a company collapsed and you did need to change it, it might be something that's agreed with the residents and the developers. But that owner still has the opportunity to obviously sell if that hotel brand did change.
Great. We can probably squeeze in one more question. Yeah, here we go. It looks like Scott, I think. Please tell us who you are, Scott.
Scott. I'm a hotels lawyer dealing in branded residence. To Tia's question, there is no guarantee that brand will be there. When your SPA that you sign, it does not tell you, I am buying a Rove residence. I am buying an ultra-luxury, so not with Rove, but I am buying an ultra-luxury property that is operated by a hotel company. So think about it. You go to a store, you go to a Ferrari shop, and you want to buy a Ferrari. And you buy, and they deliver you a Lada. And you say, hey, I bought a Ferrari. And what do they say? It's a car, it's a mode of transport. There is no promise that that brand will be there. If the adjoining hotel collapses, automatically the branded residents are debranded. So as a buyer, you have a reasonable anticipation that what you're paying that premium for, that brand will be there. But legally, there is no obligation at all.
So
And that is the reality these days.
Expert legal advice there.
There you go.
It's a leap of faith.
Yeah, caveat emptor, I think. I think that's just about our time. I'm going to finish with one quick fire round, actually. Now, if you had your dream brand, and you're not allowed to choose Rove or any of the EMAR or Dubai holding ones, Paul, I'm afraid. If you had your dream brand and you were going to move into it yourself, what would be that dream brand on your residence? And let's start with you, Stephen.
Considering I'm just spending my whole time here talking to brands, that's put me in a very tough position. Oh goodness, I've had some great stays at St Regis over the years, so I'm going to go with St Regis.
Great. Eezan.
I've spoken to so many.
Go on, give us one. Which is your favourite?
Personal favorite? Personal favorite, Rosewood.
Rosewood. Okay, great. Paul.
I'm going to go non-hospitality. Big Apple fan, so I'd love to see an Apple residences.
Okay, interesting. Tim Cook will be pleased.
Good answer.
Ali.
I'll stick to the same
should
brand
have
that
done
we're representing. So it's a Biltmore, probably, for sure. I don't know if you all been to the Biltmore in Mayfair in the UK, but yeah, I'll stick to Biltmore.
Biltmore. Great. Okay. Ladies and gents, please thank our panel.